security of Yemen and global navigation routes. Riot group says Houthis have abducted thousands of people since the start of war. Suffering of displaced people continues amid severe shortage of aid international. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Injil Zazi. An oil tanker off the coast of Oman was attacked by an explosive drone. Associated Press quoted a defense official confirming the attack was on a Liberian flagged ship. The British Maritime Trade confirmed the attack, adding that investigations are underway to find out details. Houthi drones continue to threaten Yemen and beyond border. The navigation in the Arabian Sea and the Red Sea is at risk as long as this rebel militia is in control of Hodeidah. This report has more details.
The Houthi maritime threat is real and rising, and better situational awareness, better measures to avoid approaching maritime drones, and better tools to disable them can all play a role in keeping international navigation routes as safe as possible. Maritime security experts should be alert that technologies currently deployed by Houthis will spread to other areas. Iran may be deliberately using Red Sea as a testing area for new naval technologies, or the Houthis may be pioneering these technologies on their own. Either way, Iran will be eager to learn from the Houthis' experiences and tactics. It will be important to develop effective countermeasures before maritime drones potentially appear in the Strait of Hormuz as well. Domestically assembled drones that can fly hundreds of miles are proving a security headache for the Arabian Gulf after consecutive attacks by Yemen's rebel militia. The low-tech weapons, which use over-the-counter bots, were deployed in two attacks on the wealthy Gulf states. The Sama-3 drones have a range of about 1,500 kilometers. According to rebels and analysts, they have frequently targeted Saudi Arabia, which neighbors Yemen, killing and injuring civilians and damaging infrastructure, including oil facilities and airports. It is difficult to counter drone and missile attacks, especially when used in a swarm tactic, where multiple weapons are sent at once to overwhelm existing defense. The Houthis have been using attack drones and medium-range missiles at low altitude and low speed, so that they are hard for conventional radar to detect. The rebels say they manufacture the drones domestically, although analysts say that they contain smuggled Iranian components. The drones were augmented with easily available commercial drone motors, wiring control systems, and cameras, and this ensured that Houthis can secure these cost-effective fighting methods easily.
The Yemeni naval force in Socotra has recently seized an Iranian ship carrying a large amount of drugs. On another incident, the U.S. Central Command captured an Iranian ship carrying drugs in the Gulf of Oman. All those drugs are meant for Yemen, which seems to be another war waged by the Iranian regime against Yemenis. This report has more details.
The Yemeni Navy apprehended a second Iranian ship carrying drugs off the coast of Socotra Island on its way to the Houthis, signaling the escalation of Iranian Houthi investment in drugs less than 6 weeks after the U.S. Navy announced the capture of an Iranian drug smuggling ship off the coast of Oman. Last Friday, the Yemeni naval forces in Socotra were able to seize an Iranian ship carrying a large amount of drugs on board off the coast of Socotra Island, while the U.S. Central Command seized another Iranian ship carrying drugs estimated at $20 million during a patrol in the Gulf of Oman last September. According to Yemeni security forces, the security forces in Al-Mahra Governorate conducted investigations with 3 Yemeni sailors who were rescued by the U.S. Navy in late October after their boat was burned at sea, and the investigations led to the discovery of the Iranian ship laden with drugs, which was seized and detained in the center of the island. The U.S. Navy rescued 3 Yemeni fishermen from a burning motorboat moments before it sank in the Gulf of Aden on October 27th. According to a judicial source in the capital, Sana'a, drug cases, smuggling, and selling have declined to a large extent in the courts of militia-controlled areas, despite facts indicating an increase in popularity of this trade in recent years, likely due to the militia's authority to smuggle and sell. Many of those arrested for drug trafficking or abuse are released before being referred to the Public Prosecution Office, while other case files are closed before or during trials, which suggests that suspicious deals have been concluded with drug dealers. Many new forms of narcotics are proliferating in Houthi-controlled regions and are being freely sold in marketplaces. Yemenis accuse militias of selling and promoting drugs in order to profit financially from them on the one hand and to corrupt generations of society on the other, as well as spreading them among their fighters in order to easily manage and guide them.
Bahrain Defense Force Commander-in-Chief received the Yemeni Chief of Staff General. The Commander-in-Chief praised the deep Bahraini-Yemeni relations and their progress in various fields. The meeting discussed military cooperation and other topics of common interest. Political parties denounced the Houthi Code of Conduct that was issued last week. The National Alliance of Yemeni Political Parties said that the behavior of the Houthi militia makes achieving the truce impossible. The Yemeni parties indicated that the Houthi militia is creating a non-constructive atmosphere and is damaging all confidence-building measures which can lead to peace.
Yemen, the worst famine the world has seen in 100 years. Right now, over 8 million people are facing starvation. Since the beginning of the war, 85,000 children have died due to the lack of food. We cannot allow this to continue. The Yemeni people can't wait.
The United Nations announced that civilian casualties have increased dramatically. Also, casualties of explosive remnants increased by 20%. The report added that mines caused about 300 civilian casualties during the truce period. The government discussed with the UN Humanitarian Coordinator David Griesley humanitarian affairs in Yemen. The meeting discussed coordination to facilitate the performance of relief organizations and ways to confront obstacles from the Houthi militia to impede humanitarian work. The United Nations announced its urgent need for $12 million to provide protections for tens of thousands of displaced during the winter period. OCHA reported that 54,000 families from the most vulnerable groups will suffer from low temperatures. It added that people in displacement sites need blankets, winter clothes, heating devices, and fuel. The 8 years of conflict have taken a toll on the population. About 4.3 million Yemenis are internally displaced and do not have adequate access to basic services. Such suffering gets worse amid international aid shortage. This report gives more details.
Between a life of homelessness and displacement, people are struggling to secure food and shelter for their children due to the acute shortage of food and the decline in humanitarian aid. The World Food Programme has suspended food rations for thousands of displaced families in Ma'rib at a time when living conditions are extremely difficult, with no alternatives along with the lack of job opportunities, which expose the lives of thousands of children and women to real danger.
The monthly food aid has been cut off, and these families are suffering severely and do not have any monthly income.
Stopping aid is only part of a complex problem faced by the displaced in Ma'rib. Thousands of displaced families were not included in the list of the World Food Programme, and the majority of families complain about not receiving any food rations, says Reem, who is one of the thousands of displaced people in Ma'rib who has not received any aid. Since her displacement 2 years ago, she relies on selling sheep in order to secure food for her and her family.
I did not receive any food aid and there is no one who can give me anything. I sold all my sheep and now I don't have anything to own.
According to the Department of Displaced Persons in Ma'rib Governorate, the World Food Programme suspended the rations of 9,095 families without reasons, and more than 36,000 families were not included in the program lists. Most of them were recently displaced from southern districts, and they need food and shelter.
We are in need of food aid in Ma'rib. According to the assessment of the IPC, we are classified in the third or second stage, which indicates that we do not suffer from a severe nutritional deficiency, but in fact, we are in the fifth stage. This assessment is incorrect, and we plead to the fact to adopt the accurate assessment from the competent authorities.
The lack of food and the deterioration of shelter are major factors that turn the lives of the displaced into hell after they fled the hell of the militia war, so they drowned in poverty and hunger in the displacement camps.
The Yemeni Network for Rights and Freedom said that it documented the kidnapping of 17,000 Yemenis by the Houthi militia in the past 8 years. The network said more than 4,000 abductees are still in the militia's prisons until this moment. Government forces have thwarted Houthi infiltration attempts on several fronts in Ma'rib. Field sources said that the infiltration attempts coincided with intense Houthi shelling, which focused on the positions of the army forces. Coming next in the news. Female artist Intisar al-Hamadi is subjected to extreme torture in Houthi jails.
طبعا مدينة تعز تعاني من أزمة مياه، وخاصة في ظل الحرب هذه الفترة هذه.
ما كان يوصل لنا الدبار 20 لتر بصعوبة، نروح نعبي الدباب مشاكل وصياح، نروح وإحنا ضابحين معقدين، نصل وقحنا يعني ما نشتيش الماء كرهنا الحياة. وهي 7 أطفال معي، كيف تكفيهم الدباب؟ أرجع عند الثانية أجي وقايز اللي يقولوا ولا يستخدم الماء.
Welcome back. Human rights sources revealed that the Yemeni artist Intisar al-Hamadi, jailed in the central prison in Sana'a, was subjected to violence, beatings, and her nose was broken. This comes in line with the Houthi systematic crackdown on Yemeni women. This report has more details.
Human rights sources revealed that Yemeni artist Intisar al-Hamadi, kidnapped in the central prison in Sana'a, was subjected to violence, beatings, and nasal fracturing by a Houthi official in the wing of the so-called Zainabiyat. The sources confirmed that the official Karima al-Maruni, nicknamed al-Qarar of the Zainabiyat squad in the central prison, carried out the abuse. The Houthi militia is putting tremendous pressure on the relatives of the kidnapped woman, al-Hamadi, to refrain from inciting public opinion by disclosing the heinous circumstances of her arrest. Fearing for Intisar's safety and desperate to lessen the severity of the torture she is undergoing in jail, her family acceded to the Houthis' demands. According to the reports, the warden has a history of practicing violence against detainees as a whole, prompting several of them to attempt suicide in the past. The wing of the so-called Zainabiyat was established by the Iranian-backed Houthi militia after its coup against the regime on September 21, 2014. Kidnapping women and girls, raiding homes, and operations that require the intervention of the women's police are relegated to the Zainabiyat forces. The Houthi group detained Yemeni actress and model Intisar al-Hamadi and her colleagues from the Shamlan district west of Yemen's capital Sana'a in February 2021. Her incarceration in Houthi jail sparked widespread outrage, with Yemeni rights advocates demanding her release. According to Human Rights Watch, during questioning, Houthi authorities forced her to sign a document while blindfolded, accusing Intisar of immoral behavior and drug use with no proof to back up this charge. On November 9, 2021, the court sentenced Intisar to 5 years in jail on allegations of immorality. Many women, including Yemeni actress and model Intisar al-Hammadi, her co-workers, and 27 female political security personnel were imprisoned without reason in 2021.
War and climate crises have deepened the suffering of Yemeni farmers across the country. A new report of the International Red Cross has revealed the impact of the war on farmers. More details are within this report.
In Yemen, the climate crisis is pushing communities already reeling from almost 8 years of conflict to the breaking point. Farmers have seen their livelihoods destroyed by extreme droughts, devastating flooding, and grunting conflict, making it harder for them to make ends. Many Yemeni farmers who are relying on agriculture and livestock struggle today. The conflict reduced their home to a pile of rubble. Then heavy rainfall came and destroyed their houses. Flooding in recent months has had a devastating impact on the agriculture sector, destroying crops and moving explosive remnants of war to agriculture areas. With Yemen facing a devastating food security crisis, this will only further aggravate an already alarming situation. Many people in Yemen are unable to meet their daily food needs countrywide compared to last year. The climate crisis and conflict are also forcing more families to abandon their homes. It's not uncommon for people to flee their homes seeking safety from conflict, to then leave again because the ground cannot be farmed. In some areas, unexploded ordnance lurk in what should be farmland, making it dangerous for people to tend to their land. Besides, water shortage across Yemen intensified by the extended conflict, and several years of droughts has limited access to safe water. As a result, an increasing number of farmers are being forced to abandon their profession. Empty dams used to nourish the lands. The consecutive dry seasons badly harmed farmers. Many farmers had to leave their jobs and look for other jobs, as cultivating the land is no longer enough to sustain basic needs of their families. The ICRC works in close collaboration with Yemen Red Crescent Society to support the most vulnerable rural communities to sustain their livelihoods. Last year, many livestock keepers benefited from livestock vaccinations and treatment campaigns, while this year thousands of farmers have benefited from multi-purpose cash grants, microeconomic initiative projects, or coffee or wheat seeds donations. Yemen, like many conflict-affected countries, is excessively impacted by climate change. The ICRC is calling for greater support to help people cope with and adapt to climate change in countries like Yemen.
Ib has witnessed a severe shortage of bread across the city. According to local observers, this shortage is attributed to the hike in the flour price, which was imposed by the Houthis. The following report has more details.
The people of Ib Governorate are going through a hard time. At this point, they cannot even buy bread, as the Houthi militia has shut down 18 bakeries to blackmail their owners. Houthis have claimed that they took this action as a result of violation measures, prices, and instructions. According to the sources, the Houthi militia in Ib reopened some bakeries a few hours later after their owners paid sums of money. People in Ib said that buying or finding bread has become really difficult after these Houthi restrictions, and in addition to high prices and lack of cooking gas. Bakery owners protested in front of the local authority building against the Houthi violations and to reopen their shops that was recently shut down. According to sources, the reason of shutting down bakery shops in Ib is the refusal of shop owners to pay illegal royalties. Moreover, Houthis have launched about 8 campaigns against bakeries in Ib since the beginning of this year. Ib and other cities were on the verge of closure for the past 8 years. In response to the Houthi violations, some bakeries were forced to close, while others ceased operations. Bakery owners attempted strikes and protests, but they were unsuccessful, and the group maintained its policy of threats and assaults. International and local organizations confirmed that approximately 21 million Yemenis, out of a population of 27 million, require humanitarian assistance, and that more than 100,000 people have died as a result of deadly epidemics. Yemen's already dire hunger situation is on the brink of a disaster. According to UN agencies, people are in desperate need of food assistance, and a growing portion of the population is dealing with emergency levels of hunger. Yemen is suffering from one of the world's worst food crises. Hunger is hunting the Yemeni people. They do not even have their basic human rights. They don't have food, shelter, water, nor safety.
Here is a reminder of the main headlines. Houthi drones threaten security of Yemen and global navigation routes. Riot group says Houthis have abducted thousands of people since the start of war. Suffering of displaced people continues amid severe shortage of international aid. This is the end of the news. It was Injil Zazi. Thank you for watching.